All right. The last thing I brought to the podcast this week was a documentary called Defending My Life, Albert Brooks.
Oh.
It's not like in a bad way. It's just a riff off of his movie from the early 90s called Defending Your Life, where he plays someone that goes into an afterlife and has to, like, put up, defense against the bad days of his life. I do like that movie. I have watched it plenty of times.
It's an amazing movie, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big fan of Albert Brooks's comedies over the years, so watching a retrospective of his career where he's talking about it, and then there's a bunch of interviews with people that are also fans of his, that was a great time. It's directed by Rob Reiner.
Oh, wow, cool.
HBO.
Are they best friends?
And they've been best friends for like 40 or 50 years or something ridiculous. Like, worked together and then have worked together since. Of course.
Wow, that's cool.
And I also didn't track the work that they did do together, because sometimes you'll track someone and follow their career and then they overlap with someone. You're like, I didn't know you guys were working together. And then you backtrack. You're like, well, now I'm going to have to watch all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I've watched most of this stuff.
So it's a documentary about his career.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Essentially, in the jokingest kind of way, he hasn't had like an amazing career. He's made some weird choices, and he's gone from stand-up to writing and acting to the directing side of stuff, and then still doing the kind of characters and weird stuff. So in a way, this whole interview that he does, he's doing the interview directly with Rob Reiner. So not in that scene, he's not directing, but like there's all these other interviews that happen, and at some point, everyone eventually says, "Right? Didn't that happen, Rob?" Or Rob will like chime in off camera.
Oh, because he's off camera.
He's directing this. He's directing this. Okay.
Who did he interview? Who's in it?
Some of the fans of Albert Brooks that they brought in were Judd Apatow. Obviously, huge.
Is that This Is 40? Wasn't he like, yeah,
the
we talked about that recently.
Who has like little kids is so classic, that role.
Yeah.
Don't people need blinds anymore? Oh, no, curtains. They need curtains.
Sorry, go ahead. Who else?
And also, Larry David does a couple interview bits where you're like, oh, I can understand, yes. And also, they were on the show. That makes some sense that they work together. That's why we need to have someone big like Larry David on this. Okay. And then a couple more like now comedians, not his contemporaries, but more
like younger, maybe?
Yeah. Tiffany Haddish and Nikki Glaser and Jonah Hill are like the three that I wanted to call out. Because out of the three of them, all of them recognized, I'm here with Rob. Let me just go ahead and have a little moment where I like, yeah. And then, yeah, I was doing the interview. But, here's the answer to that question.
I mean, Rob Reiner, how could you? I mean, first of all, Albert Brooks, awesome. Rob Reiner, also awesome. I would be so distracted, and my focus would be like
Right.
What would I do? Princess Bride. Can we discuss every moment of it?
Yes.
Only one thing to really mention about this, because it's just a bunch of great interviews and referencing Albert Brooks' career. So if you want to, great.
I do now. I really do now. Yeah.
You'll probably be inspired to watch a bunch of his movies. There's a stand-up bit that I didn't really track any of his old stand-up. I'm usually just watching his feature films. That he does this bit where he's like not doing a standard stand-up. And at the time in the 70s when everyone was doing this, they literally did do stand-up. They were standing and holding a mic and doing all their bits to the audience. He does this thing where he's like, I could be a comedian. I could do all the stuff that they're doing, but that's not who I am. I'm a serious writer and director. And he sits down. And then he like doesn't let go of how irritated by the audience's precept that he could be a comedian, he could do all that stuff. So then in this bit, and it's a classic bit that's well known, he starts to do all the bits. I could get a pie and throw it in my own face, and he literally throws a pie into his own face. I could take my shirt off. I could have had the makeup guy draw a weird thing on my chest it really goes for it. It's like off the rails. And there's a bunch of comedians that talk about, I hadn't seen anyone do anything like that before. I didn't know you could go for it that way. I didn't know that was okay. That level of actually making fun of what we're doing was even available. So like inspiring to like Chris Rock. Oh, that you inspired Chris Rock. Okay, well, yes, that's a good note. So I'd recommend that one as well, and it's on HBO.
Yeah, because his filmography, I mean, because he's older than us, so
yeah.
Broadcast news.
Oh gosh, yes.
Talk about flop sweat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that scene.
Yeah, that is. He had some hot wings accidentally.
And oh my gosh, he was actually in Private Benjamin.
Oh my gosh,
the connections. But even younger than us, Finding Nemo. I mean,
Oh, sure.
he plays the father's voice. So beloved by that.
Even better, he plays a clownfish, a comedian, and he's
Yes.
the most non-comedian comedian you can get. Like, he
Right.
does movies about like finding laughter in the Muslim world. That was like the least comedian you could do.
What an interesting guy.
That whole line where, you know, a couple of other fish are like, "Oh, you're a clownfish, tell us a joke." Well, that's a funny story. That's not really how that works.
And I mean, I don't know if you know that, like, he was born Albert Einstein.
Yep.
And
They go
realized
into that.
that would be a hard name to carry
'cause
off.
it's his family. He's related to Albert Einstein.
Well, and Super Dave Osborne.
Oh, and Super Dave Osborne is his brother? Is that right?
Yes.
It's his brother?
It's his brother?
Yes.
I do like the bit that they played on that. They're like, "So you're like the fourth child." So they waited to figure out who to name Albert.
It is
Like,
funny.
what?
It's like, really, the fourth one? Wouldn't that be the first one out of the gate? I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, so in general, his whole filmography is worth exploring. If you haven't watched many of them, I think one of my favorites is Mother, and currently living through that era right now.
Oh, gosh. Well, and
Him
obviously,
Debbie Reynolds and the frozen layer of protective ice on the
yeah, you just go
shirt.
under the protective layer. But yes, Defending Your Life, I like that it's connected to that because that is a really good one.
Yeah.
All right, well, cool. Good suggestion.